300 years old, took about half an hour to make. And I said, half an hour? Yeah, half an hour. So I gave it to an economist friend of mine, John Miller, who took it and he went, what was he doing? Right? So there's three remarkable things about this. First, John is so goddamn funny that he thought of this. Okay. Second is, how did he know that I would know what he meant and that therefore it would be funny? He did, and I cracked up. Third, within moments we had a theory for why the Anasazi civilization in northern New Mexico that gave rise to the Pueblo collapsed. And it's sad tale. They started making channel changers in the year 1200 out of stone. And religious conviction, I told you God was bad, led them to continue. And the entire civilization went into economic ruin and collapsed. So we told the anthropologists, and they said, no. There's no sense of humor in the anthropologists. Because I think that it was publishable, you know. Okay, so this means something very important. It means that the economy, in this single example, tells you, advances into where it's going through what I'll call the adjacent possible. There is no point in making a channel changer 300 years ago. What's right? So the economy is advancing into the adjacent possible. I could define it for chemistry and chemical reaction systems. But what's stunning about this is that biology is doing the same thing. And I want you to pause and think about what we're talking about. It's bloody stunning. So let me tell you about the adjacent possible for chemistry. Suppose you took a pot of molecules and you had 157 different organic molecules in it. And you went to a good organic chemist and you said, okay, if they react with one another, what will happen? And he said, well, they'll react and you'll make a bunch of these 147, but you'll make 283 molecules that weren't in the original pot. Okay? Or 100 or something like that. Let's call the original the actual, and the new ones you get the adjacent possible. Everybody with me? Perfectly well defined for chemistry. Well, the biosphere has been exploding into the adjacent possible for 3.8 billion years. There used to be 100 or 1,000 organic molecules. There's trillions now. The diversity of jobs in the economy has been exploding into the adjacent possible. There were maybe 100 to 1,000 goods and services 50,000 years ago. There's 10 billion now. You all know what advantages of trade are. I got a lot of apples, you got a lot of pears. I'd like some of yours and you'd like some of mine. We're both better off if we trade. So you get trade, right? While Ra showed that that was an analog of energy, us getting happier. The more kinds of things you got, the more kinds of ways there are of trading, and the gross domestic product of Canada goes up, right? So the diversity, this explosion into the adjacent possible, is driving wealth. It's not in the economists' theories. I know. I've been talking to them for 20 years. It's a major driver of economic growth, but they have no theory of it. It's absolutely fundamental, something called the economic web. For our purposes, it means the following stunning things. Let's come back to the Darwinian pre-adaptations. Do you know the frequency interpretation of probability? You take a coin and you flip it 10,000 times. It's going to come up heads 5,000 times with some distribution that happens to be a Poisson distribution, if it's a fair coin. Notice that you knew ahead of time all the possibilities for heads and tails, right? Okay. Do you know that for the swim bladder? Do you know all the possibilities ahead of time? Right? You don't know them all. You don't know what the statisticians call the sample space. So you can't use a frequency interpretation to make a probability statement about what Darwinian pre-adaptations are going to happen in the biosphere or in the economy. There's another interpretation due to Laplace. He said, suppose that you're in front of n doors and there's a treasure behind one. What's your chance of picking the right door? He says, 1 over n. It's a good mathematician. Okay. Could have been n plus 1 and he'd have been wrong. That's what I'd have done. Okay. That's not a frequency interpretation of probability, but notice that you know what n is. You know the number of doors, right? We don't know what n is for the biosphere, correct? We just don't know. We have no idea. So we can't make a probability interpretation of Darwinian pre-adaptations, and we can't do it either for the evolution of our technologies. Which means, by the way, that decision science and 5-year plans are worth diddly-poop. Okay. And they are worth diddly-poop, right? I mean, excuse me, that's almost a bad word. But that's why they're no good. We don't know. Nobody foresaw YouTube. Nobody foresaw eBay. Nobody foresaw Walmart replacing retail stores with discount stores. People didn't foresee it. Okay? Okay, so we can't make probability statements. Now the next radical thing I'll say is the following. What's a natural law? Well, you either think a natural law is prescriptive and it tells the world how to behave. Most people think that laws are descriptions. And a law is something like a compact description of the regularities of a process, like Darwin, like Newton's laws. Okay? Can we have a law, a natural law, that covers the emergence of swim bladders? No, we can't. It's not that hydrogen can change to helium or nitrogen can change to carbon. They can't. Physics still applies. We cannot have a law for the evolution of the biosphere by Darwinian pre-adaptation, and we cannot have a law for the detailed evolution of our economy by finding out that you could use the rigidity of an engine block to turn it into a chassis. You can't. It's not stopping the making of tractors, though, is it? That doesn't mean you can't have statistical laws, and in fact I've published papers on some statistical laws about things that are called Schumpeterian gales of creative destruction. But for the detailed evolution of these things, ain't no law, as far as I can tell. So a couple more things, and I want to get to a notion of God and why I care about it. This means something that I think is post-Cartesian science. This is a heck of a thing for an American Jewish guy to be standing up saying, you know, I mean, Descartes' famous, I'm not. But he's dead, and I'm not yet. Okay, so I get to say it. So look, Descartes told us res cogitans and res extensa, okay? Mental stuff and physical stuff. And that became the determinism that became Newton, that became Newton's determinism, that became reductionism, that became the Western view, our view, that everything is describable by law. It's not. The Zen Buddhists don't think that. This is a Western tradition. It's our scientific tradition. This is going to mean lots of things, but the next thing I want you to notice is the following. This means that the biosphere is doing something that is just staggering, and we've never thought about it. It means that the biosphere is partially lawlessly advancing through an adjacent possible that we cannot prestate. You all made the mistake of agreeing with me. Self-consistently, although there are extinction events in the economy and in biology,